Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the debate. The headlines say that these are the worst of times. But hey, Bill Barr resigned today, so things are looking up. Let's introduce our panelists for this evening. First up, straight off of Rudy Giuliani's right-hand side, we have Melissa Carone. And
Hello,
Melissa.
Hi.
So next up, we have none other than the wacky Steve Kornacki.
How's it going there? So good to see you. Just
Good
coming
to
out
see
here
you,
from
Mr.
Philadelphia,
Kornacki.
Tony.
Good to see you, sir.
Good to see you.
Next up, we have the youngest person to sign the Constitution. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, the third Speaker of the House, Jonathan Dayton.
Good evening all. My nephew set this up for me. I know I'm the young one, but I just don't quite get this temporal Zoom thing. But we're working on it. We're figuring it out.
Well, welcome, sir. Welcome. Ladies and gentlemen, next up we have none other than conservative hero, Ben Shapiro.
Hello there. Thank you so much for having me on your show this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Shapiro. And finally, yes, the rumors are true, ladies and gentlemen, but we have none other than King Henry VIII. King Henry, you there?
Yes, I am. It is good to see you, my loyal subjects.
Good to have you, sir. I know you're a hard get. We're happy to have you.
Of course.
All right, well, let's start with the latest news. Ladies and gentlemen, Bill Barr resigned just a mere couple hours ago. Ben Shapiro, how's this going to hurt the conservative cause?
I'm sorry, could you repeat the name of the person who resigned?
Bill Barr.
Well, see, we Republicans are not having a great time right now in general. You know, as you know, today our glorious president, our very glorious president, did take quite the L. So
You're still
hearing about this too.
Is that right?
What'd you say?
You're still recovering from that.
I am. I'm very much recovering from that. That was news for me today. And
well, King Henry VIII, I mean, you're the one who came up with the whole concept of divine right of kings. And it seems that somebody today is trying to follow your lead here. Do you have any advice for Mr. Trump?
Yes, I could invite him to my wonderful palace, of course, the Hampton Court Palace, and he can hide out there until this whole thing blows over.
Well, how would he stay in power, sir? I mean, you managed to somehow defy the odds and defy not only the odds, but also the church to remain in power.
Well, he can send his correspondence, of course, over the oceans with a boat. It takes about 45 days.
Very well. Ms. Carone, do you have any ideas on what Barr and Trump should both be doing next?
Excuse me, it's Caroni.
My bad, I'm sorry.
Is it Caroni or is it Carone? We don't know.
Oh.
But tonight it's Caroni.
Tonight we'll go with Caroni. Then Ms. Caroni, what happens now for Barr and Trump? What advice would you give them?
Well, we're going to keep fighting. And boy, have I got news for you guys about what's happening to letters to Santa. Okay? This corruption runs multi-levels deep.
Multi-levels deep.
Multi-levels deep. Like, I bet it runs all the way up to Superman's palace.
I'm sorry, Superman's palace? Is that a code for someone?
No, because that's the other thing in the North Pole.
The Fortress of Solitude.
Yeah, like whatever he wants to call it, but you know.
Hey, Mr. Kornacki, what do you have to say about that? Is this election done yet?
Oh no, this election is not done, at least according to my recordings here.
Right.
You know, if Bill Barr is resigning, I believe that improves the Ravens' chances of beating the Browns tonight up to 64%.
See.
So we got to have a playoff prognostication on top of this. Kornacki, your double duty's paying off for all of us. Jonathan Dayton.
Absolutely.
Jonathan Dayton, you're the constitutional scholar here. Is there any path forward for Trump?
Well, obviously, when we designed this whole Constitution business, we assumed that, removing the president would be a very common thing, almost as easy as electing them would be removing them. And it's the fact that you took me, someone that is drunk about 14 hours of the day, is barely literate, and largely got through college because he knew certain friends, that my ghost should be telling you how to run your government. Well, I mean, I'm here now telling you, and like this, what's this attorney general, this Department of Justice? We didn't put that in there, because if we have a Department of Justice, they might start telling the slave catching patrols how to do their job, and we can't have that.
Now. Well, I mean, Miss Corona, you can sympathize with Mr. Dayton there about being drunk 14 hours a day. Well,
I'm just a traditionalist. Thank you.
What is traditional about being drunk 14 hours a day?
That's how our forefathers did it. Okay.
Mhm.
Every man, woman, and child had at least a little bit of booze from breakfast through dinner, and that's why they were so good at Jesus. So,
well, you know what? You keep playing your cards right. King Henry VIII here may get a seventh wife. King Henry,
Hey.
I saw you nodding in approval.
As long as you're okay with the possibility of being beheaded, you might be there.
I'm totally okay with it, and I actually think that that's like a feminist conspiracy against you. I feel like you only beheaded like one.
I like you a lot.
Very well. All right, Kornacki, tell me, what do we have to do going forward to improve this country? I mean, it seems like this country's at each other's throats. You have Republicans against Democrats, cats against dogs. It's just chaos out there.
Well, I just got some numbers from a Siena poll showing that if we have 60% cat owners and 40% dog owners, we're more likely to be a unified country. But if that number gets close to 50%, especially in the outer rings of Philadelphia, that's where there are a lot of cat owners right now. We have a new data dump that just came in that increased the number of dog owners. So I really don't know if this country is going to stay together or if we're going to be divided, Bucks County versus Philadelphia County.
Got it. Hey, Ben Shapiro, looking at the map there, is there some type of correlation, you think, between the increase of cat owners around the Philadelphia area and the decrease of Republican support?
Absolutely. Absolutely, I do. I do think that there is a direct correlation between cat owners and decrease in Republican support, because it is proven by facts that most cat owners are indeed lesbians. And it is proven by facts that most lesbians are indeed Democrats.
You're not really a fan of that whole lesbian thing, are you?
I am not. I am not, at least not publicly. Now, what happens in my private browser during my private time is my business. However, during the day, right now, yes.
Okay.
And I'm given to understand, Mr. Shapiro, you're not a fan of pussies yourself. At least you're not familiar with them very much.
Oh, I am very, very familiar with pussies. In fact, my wife is an OBGYN, and she promises me every single night that it's not supposed to get wet, and everything that I'm doing is correct and factual in the bed.
I'm glad.
No, I'm not a cat owner. I
talked
can't
about
say.
that because I thought we were talking about cats, but okay. Well, yeah, let's talk on that a bit here. Why are you beefing with Cardi B?
Ooh.
Cardi B is a degenerate music producer. Okay, let's say hypothetically that I produced a song called we will call it Hard Ass P Word. P word not being the one that Cardi B uses, but the P word that I have, which by the way is a very large P word. So if I create a song called
Penis.
Large Ass P Word, and hypothetically I produce this song, I'll get called a misogynist. I will be called a chauvinist. I will be pushing my sexuality down other people's throats. And that is sexist against men. There is sexism against men.
All right. Well, Karoni, you step up on this. I know you've had a little bit of a foray into the whole sex tape thing. What do you have to say about that?
Look, I only use sex tapes as God intended, harassing my boyfriend's ex-girlfriend. Okay.
So you admit that was you who did that?
I admit that I had to say that it was me. Yeah.
Right. You
So-
admit that you had to
Hmm.
say it was you? Okay. Hey, King Henry, let me ask you this.
Oh, yes, if I could go back to the sex tape part of this.
Go
I
ahead.
mean, I only believe in having a sex tape as it's meant to be, drawn out on a very long scroll of parchment. And that way, when you drop it, it keeps rolling and rolls out the front door of the throne room. And it's a fun journey to see the sex acts on the parchment.
That does sound hot. I got to admit.
Mhm.
Jonathan Dayton, is that your experience?
Well, look, I don't mean to tell tales out of school, but my sexual proclivities were known well enough that they did name the city of Dayton, Ohio after me, just because that's
Ooh.
if there's a sexier city in America, I'm sure that it's not Dayton, Ohio. So it's look upon Dayton and know my triumphs. That's I should just leave it at that as a private conversation between gentlemen.
Well, people in Toledo are now outraged, but Kornacki, let me talk to you here. Are there any stats that back up the effect of these sex tapes on the American population when it comes to voting?
Well, going back to my data, looking at the state of New Jersey here, just to the right of Pennsylvania, it seems that a lot of sex tapes happen in the state of New Jersey. They're very supportive of candidates with who have sex tapes. But then if we go down here to West Virginia, sex tapes are really forbidden in most of West Virginia. We just had a data done from Monongahela County, and only 16% of residents there, that's a college town where the University of West Virginia is, so most of the data coming in that are in support of that are younger than the age of 22.
Okay, well, I mean, that does sound like a pretty sizable part of the population now in West Virginia, correct?
Well, actually, in West Virginia, they count horses, goats, and cows as part of the voting population.
I did not
So
know that.
it's
That's
actually
new.
quite a small number.
Oh, okay. Well, that's new. I did not know that about West Virginia.
This is a recent law that passed in a hyper Republican legislation there.
In a hyper Republican legislation. So the horses there, as I understand it then, and goats, they're all Republican.
That is correct.
And how are the Democrats going to
100%.
counterbalance
That's the
against
data
that?
we're seeing.
How do Democrats counterbalance against that, Kornacki?
Well, they really don't have any options. We've been looking at the data, and then the people who are elected there are all Republicans, and so they've taken all the power from the Democrats, and all the electors are not true electors.
Shapiro, are you okay with this?
What exactly am I okay with?
Are you okay with Republicans taking away the rights of Democrats to vote in West Virginia and giving them to farm animals?
Absolutely. Absolutely, I am.
And why? And what is it about the Democrat voting that has you so on board with this? What is
Well,
it that offends you?
Democrats are voting against family values. They're voting for degeneracy. They're voting for wet ass P word. And I think that if that is the stage at which humans are, then it is time to pass Democratic votes to the cattle.
King Henry, I see you nodding along with approval here. This does sound like something that we'll just say a dictator or a tyrant, which you've been accused of, might agree with.
I am neither of those things. I mean, I am the first monarch to English monarch to rule in Belgium. I did for 6 years, and I wasn't a tyrant then. I just watched the monks in their abbeys brew lots of beer, and as you can see by my form, I drank a lot of that beer. And if I've done things that are bad, I just blame it on the alcohol.
Well, Dayton, you must know a thing or two about that.
I'm just saying, in my time, this was the time before really formal political parties. This was just when the country came together as one, as a unified polity, when basically anyone that wouldn't be part of that unified polity was not allowed to vote. You know, women, people of color, people that don't have enough money,
That brings up a good point.
Amish,
But
people cross-eyed, people with a bit of a limp. I think people with red hair couldn't vote in Jersey for a bit. I don't know when that got fixed, but
Oh,
everyone else, though, a unified policy of rich, white, landowning people that were mostly okay with slavery, even if they didn't necessarily own slaves themselves. And times were better then.
well, Mr. Dayton, I need to ask this question by this point in light of your admissions here tonight. How much of the Constitution was written while the founding fathers were drunk?
The better question is, how much of it was written when the founding fathers were sober? I think there was a sentence in Article 3, subsection 2, when the punch had been gone for a bit and the servants hadn't come with the new punch, where everyone was really starting to feel it. Sentence was very short. People just wanted to get it over with till the next punch came again. I think it was just, and the president can, you know, I think they cleaned it up later, but that was the one port where the port kind of ran out.
What I'm hearing is that basically you guys were toasted the whole time. Karoni, you must like that, right? I mean, that seems to be your thing, to get all wound up, drunk, and talk about the Constitution and a whole bunch of stuff that makes very little sense to others.
That's the contents of my sex tape, mostly.
That would be your brand, huh?
And that's why I was sending it to her, because not only was it like, hey, I've got this man now, but also it's educational.
Your
okay?
tape was educational. Did I hear
Yeah.
that correctly?
We talked about specifics of constitutional law while
During
doing it. Yeah.
at the Sex Act.
Yeah.
Okay.
I find it's good. A good way to learn is to pair like memorization with like an activity. So
That's well, Kornacki, is that something you use in your little world?
Or was that for me?
Yeah, Kornacki, we're asking you whether or not you use constitutional law discussions as a sex act.
Sorry, I was
You're-
Dirty
population
talk,
gets into that.
Kornacki. It is.
I know, I certainly do.
I was studying as a Ken doll.
Well, back when I was in journalism school up in Boston, we talked about sex acts just in general in my dorm room, but we didn't really talk about it much in terms of the Constitution. It doesn't really affect voters really about their opinions about who they should elect for president or for Senate or for governor. Now we've asked this at Seltzer poll, Siena, Monmouth, other liberal arts college from the Northeast that has no other recognition except that they do polling. And none of the polls show that, that sex acts really have an effect, an effect to the Constitution, on voters.
Well, good to know that. Let me ask you this. Let's change topics here. Let's go to the vaccines. Kornacki, the American people here, it seems that the overwhelming majority are interested in vaccines, but yet there's still a whole bunch of people that are not willing to take it because they're afraid that it's going to put a GPS and other tracking, nanobots or something inside of them. How does that play out in terms of how this country is going to attack the COVID-19 virus?
Well, I think the part of the problem is that we as pollsters have real trouble connecting with voters, all voters, to get a full representation. A lot of those silent Trump voters that people talk about. And so we've actually, some of these pollsters, like the Seltzer poll, which got Iowa right, like to the button, right? They actually started tracking voters in Iowa with the same kind of materials that you're talking about in these vaccines. So voters have a right to be fearful about these vaccines because, we're already kind of putting tracking devices in our voters. I don't believe that these vaccines are doing that, but and certainly in the polling community, it's something that we've been discussing as a way to really get better polling numbers for 2024.
Do you hear this, ladies and gentlemen? Kornacki's breaking news tonight that apparently some pollsters have now implanted nanobots into Iowan voters so we can know who they're going to vote for in the elections. And I assume it means that with the successes they've had, this is going to go wide and large scale for 2024. Is that what you're saying, sir?
That's our hope. We have to see if it gets implemented. If we have a Biden administration or a Trump administration, whether they'll be supportive of this. I think also, it's how much we regulate the tech companies out in the Silicon Valley. If they're not really regulated, which I believe if we have a Trump administration, then I think this will really go into effect.
Shapiro, let's go to you here. You got nanobots in your system? Or are you not going to be participating in the vaccines?
I will be.
You're not afraid of nanobots?
I am not afraid of nanobots. I will be taking a COVID vaccine. I think that if not enough Republicans get the vaccine, then in the year 2024, we could be doomed to a Democrat-controlled future. So we need as many Republicans to stay alive as possible.
Karoni, this is where you chime in here, because you have indicated in no uncertain terms here that you are never going to quarantine, that you are never going to, you don't even believe that COVID-19 is a real disease. That
I got masks over here just to not wear them. Okay.
You're just taking them off the market?
Yeah, I bought these so other people couldn't get them, and then I carried them around with me to be like, no.
Well, what if Newsmax or One American News or Trump tell you that it's okay to take the vaccine? Previously, you said you might know in those such situations.
I mean, it depends on whether they'll like come with me. You know?
Like hand?
Yeah. I don't like needles, like.
No, you'd rather just drink it down?
Yeah. If you could just like a shooter, yeah. I'd be good with that. But also, like, I'm okay with all like the dirts getting it first, and like.
I'm sorry, the who?
The dirts.
Is that a family name? What do you mean by that?
That's just like all the people who do need to wear masks because they're freaking dirty and stuff.
Yes.
King Henry seems to be on board here. I'm telling you, I feel the love connection between the two of you.
Yes, if I may interject, of course, because I am a king.
Of course. Go ahead, sir.
If we're going to sacrifice the state to nanobots, I think we can all agree that Iowa is really the one that should be gone. They really serve no purpose.
I had not ranked them, sir, but I'll take your word for it that Iowa might be the most deserving.
Except for Field of Dreams.
West Virginia out there, but
it's true. But Field of Dreams was a good movie, but other than that, Iowa can go straight to hell.
Jonathan Dayton, does that fit within your worldview?
Well, let me say two things. First, to Mr. Kornecki's point, we were this close in the Bill of Rights to having an additional amendment that says all Iowan citizens' movements must be tracked at all times.
Oh.
The only reason that amendment failed was the mere small technicality that Iowa did not exist as a territory at the time. But if not for that, we would be tracking all of those squirrely farmers 24/7. Now, to the vaccine. I was witness to the yellow fever outbreak in Philadelphia in the 1790s, and let me tell you, it was a devastating thing, and it was a credit to our fledgling national government, to their efforts of inoculation and quarantining that eventually kind of helped mitigate the damage of that, and particularly to the efforts of the American Black Methodists that helps being naturally immune to the virus, to the disease as you know at the time, and helping foster the city of Philadelphia through that terrible plague. And we should all feel thankful that ever since then, Philadelphia has been just a bastion of warmth and friendliness towards its Black citizens to this day.
It had nothing to do with bombing their people back in 1985, but
what?
Yes, I understand that. Let's talk about something that came up in the news earlier this week or late last week. And that is that the U.S. government and Israeli government apparently have been in touch with aliens. We haven't seen much about this in the press, but we did see that one report saying that the two governments have been in regular contact with aliens, and they feel that the people are not ready to accept aliens. Karoni, I see you nodding your head, yes?
Well, of course, the government. That's what Trump's been trying to tell us this whole time. Is he's been trying to give us the gift of aliens, but we're not ready for it. Okay, we're not ready for it. All right?
Kornacki, are we ready for this or not?
We're not.
I just got a data dump from Mars at 8 a.m. this morning, and it looks like we're going to get about 3,000 Martians approaching in Missoula, Montana,
Oh
which
my
is way out here. And
That's off the map.
yeah, there aren't a lot of big counties in Montana, so I just haven't had time to make a map for that one. But this according to a report here, my inside sources. And so I think, we have been in communication with us, obviously. I mean, I have these inside sources from Mars. So I think it's real.
King Henry, I mean, did you
Yes.
guys have aliens visit back when your age or no?
Well, I mean, we've had a lot of strange creatures come through the time. I mean,
And those are just your wives, get it?
and I beheaded a lot of them. I mean,
Yes, you certainly
They-
I
did.
find
They don't
jokes
call
at
me
women's
old-
expense to be very funny.
Me too.
they don't call me old copper nose for nothing.
It wasn't the syphilis.
no, but that was
Oh.
very, very bad.
Yeah. Yeah. Shapiro, you want to chime in on the aliens there?
I would actually. You see, it is totally fine to accept aliens into our space. What I want to know is, are these aliens coming to our planet and, more importantly, our country legally?
I don't know what the immigration process is. I'm sure
No one does
No one does.
in
But
general.
The point is that you want them checked before they come in? Or
Yes, I do.
What kind of process do you envision for other worlds to come visit?
Very, very strict background checks, because
Okay.
we don't know what's going on these other planets. We don't. Are they going to come and take jobs from us? What jobs will an alien take from us?
I suppose it might depend on how they ambulate, or do they have opposable digits?
Let's say
Usually-
hypothetically that 4,800,000 aliens
48,000
arrive.
aliens.
That's right. That's what I said. What I meant, and I meant what I said. Let's say that number of aliens comes to the United States, because of course they would come to the United States. Why would they go anywhere else? We are the best country. They get here, and theoretically, they are very good at college, and they get very high degrees, better in fact than any human could achieve. We don't know what these aliens are capable of.
They beat us at
Then-
our game.
What's
Exactly.
that? I'm sorry,
They-
Karen?
They will then take the jobs from us.
That doesn't sound fair to American citizens. I gotta say,
Absolutely not.
you gotta have some process somewhere. I don't know what the basis would be and how we're going to sit there and deal with that, but yeah, maybe Shapiro's got a point here. Karoni, here's what we're going to start doing. We have only a couple minutes to go here, and as the tradition is for the debate, we're going to have everyone give their 30 seconds of whatever it is they want to say to the world about, whatever is interesting to them, or whatever they want to tell others about their lives. So we're going to start with you, Karoni.
I just wanna piggyback on what Ben said about checking these aliens as they come in. I suggest like a rush situation. Like, I was chapter president at Delta Gamma. You might know me from like the famous cunt punt letter. I would suggest that is a good process with which to intake the aliens.
You want to harm their genitalia in order to classify.
No, we just put them through rush. We make them stand on a table. We circle their fat parts,
Oh, okay.
like
That's
normal.
already right. All right, Karoni, you're one of the leading minds for the Republican Party these days. Over to you, Kornacki. What do you want to tell everyone with your closing argument for 30 seconds?
Well, I just want to thank you for the opportunity. My whole life, I wanted to be on the debate with Jason Garber, and my dreams have finally come true, as a journalist major. Also, I just want to say, like, if you want to buy some of these khakis, you can go to the Gap gap.com/Kornacki, and you can buy your own pair. You know how I fit so tightly in these Kornackis? You know, I went to this place over up in Northeast Philadelphia County. It's called Four Seasons Total Manscaping. My husband loves it, by the way. So if you're interested in checking it out, I believe Rudy Giuliani also recommends this place. So maybe, you know, whatever your political stripe is, I think it'll be great. Also, one last thing, I looked up Alla alcohol. That's also Alabama, and we just got some data dump there from Alabama, and there's a 0% chance that Democrats will elect a Democratic president there.
In Alabama. Okay, well, over to you, Jonathan Dayton. 30 seconds to for your closing argument here.
Well, let me just say to start and kind of wrapping up the last point, I find it insulting, the idea that there is some truth out there that the American people wouldn't accept simply because it might disagree with their pre-established worldview and kind of how they assume things have operated on the planet. To summarize, yes, the founding fathers were all great, normal, sober people who got along, had no vices, were part of no improper systems, and, you know, constructed the country with absolutely no biases or allusions to, you know, systems that might be denigrating to others' humanity. It was all 100% great, and just as you thought. Please stop sending me angry letters.
All right. Now, Ben Shapiro, your 30 seconds. You go.
Thank you. Many topics came up tonight that I do not agree with. I myself do not drink, and I did not have sex until I was married, which was purely a decision I made based off of religious reasons.
Of course.
I would like the record to show that everything that I believe in is based off of facts and logic. And also, I am very familiar with P words, and I am 100% certain I will cite my wife, who is an OBGYN, that they do not get wet. Thank you for having me on, Jason.
Sure. I'm just still sitting here wondering if you're a real boy or 1-1, but we'll get to the bottom of that next time. Okay, over to you, King Henry VIII.
Oh, yes, I'd like to let you all know that I am suing HBO. On the hit show Game of Thrones, King Joffrey was married to a maiden, and he died young under mysterious circumstances, and his brother then married that same maiden, which is a parallel of my life. My first wife, Catherine of Aragon, was married to my older brother who died young under mysterious circumstances, and then I, of course, took the throne at 17 and married her as well. So it's called copyright infringement, you bastards.
Well, thank you, King Henry VIII, and thank you to all of our panelists. Ladies and gentlemen, that was the debate. Thank you very much. And thank you, Highwire Improv, for having us tonight.
Gap.com/Kornacki, everyone.
Is a high wire. Is this drugs?
Sorry?
You said the name High Wire. Is this drugs? Does that have to do with marijuana?
Not that I'm aware of, at least not.
Okay.
Nothing has been directly represented to this show about its affiliation with any narcotics or other substances that would alter reality.
Drinks
Excellent.
at
I'm quite
Franklin
against that.
House.
Oh boy.
I will not be there.
You know, some of you should probably get together after the fact. I mean, again, you know, Caroni, King Henry VIII, I see you guys getting together.
Very true. Wife number 7 sounds great to me.
No doubt. She'll send you a tape. You let her know if you'd like it.
Like, keep one ex alive so I can, you know, harass her.
Oh, my pleasure. My pleasure.
All right. Thank you, everybody, and good night.